Welcome to another fun episode of FemFlex Friday. I'm Whitney Jones here with my co-host Alina Popa, and we have on today's show the man, the myth, the legend, JM Manion. How are you, JM?
Hey ladies, how are you?
We're doing great.
Welcome to our show, and thank you for accepting to be part of it, JM.
Yes. Well, I only did it for you, Alina. That's the only reason.
And
It's a good thing you asked, not me.
Of Dracula, right? Because that's our
right.
common factor. That's where we bonded.
Exactly. The look on your face that day at the Toronto Pro Show, you rolled your eyes because you was going to give you the typical tourist response. And then when I got the history of Romania and Vlad the Impaler, you were like,
Yes.
oh, this is completely different.
I was
That's the only child in me that knew way too much.
It's never a bad thing.
I was totally surprised because most of the people just go with Dracula, but you knew the historical character that actually existed. So I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
And the fact that Bram Stoker never even visited Romania or Transylvania and wrote that book.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a British myth.
I was actually in Romania with
Right now,
JM.
I think we're already taking over the show.
Nope.
aren't we?
JM, I'm going to make my presence known. You know this. I'm way too loud to sit quietly. But we have to have you on because one of the big topics that we keep hearing about, and we of course needed you to chime in on this, is to help explain some of the uncertainties, some of the questions that are coming from athletes about qualifying for national shows, qualifying to get their pro card, and the different federations. So there's tons of questions. We're going to throw them all at you, so we hope you're ready.
Good thing I have my jacket on here.
Yes. There you go.
Brand new. This is a brand new one of the brand new jackets.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I didn't see
great.
that in Pittsburgh last week. No fair.
Yeah, you were busy stretching, that's why.
That's right. With our jump contest, which I think I won. Just saying. Throwing it out there.
Listen, I know I'm 0 for 2, but I'm not going 0 for 3.
All right. Ooh, those are big words. I'm going to keep
But
practicing.
you know the best thing is, no matter what, I was second place and Alex was last.
Yeah,
And
that is true.
Ross was last. I'm putting it out there. Everybody knows Alexander Ross was third. That little pipsqueak should have beaten me. She didn't.
You got skills. You
I
got
like
the
that.
skills.
I gotta jump in that. So if we were to start, JM, with, we know in the United States we have NBC, right? We have the NBC local shows, which qualifies for a national, which is a pro qualifier, right? Leading you
Right.
to the pro card. And I know that, for example, this year, I know that's been circulating a lot on the internet, but I know that it's good to say that again. I know that the NPC local shows used to qualify for a national show, right? Only top
Right.
2 in the open, right? In an open
Right.
class. And
Right.
this year we have different rules, right? Because of COVID.
Yeah, we had some different rules, yeah. And we had them last year too. We just kind of carried them over. We've been changing the rules. I mean, just like we changed the rules for qualifying for the Wellness Olympia this year.
Yeah.
You know, to the top 2, because unfortunately, I don't know what everybody thought that, like when the clock struck midnight for 2021, that the world was just going to magically go back to 2019.
We were hoping.
We were hoping. That
We
didn't
hope,
happen.
but as we're seeing, it's not all the way there yet.
Right.
I mean,
So, and I know that it's top 5, right, in every open class right now
Yeah.
that qualifies for
Right
a
now,
national
yes.
show.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and for people that don't understand, especially the international, first thing is when you want to look at a contest, look for the logo. Our NPC Worldwide logo is like our NPC logo, the double biceps, but it's a circle and it says NPC Worldwide underneath. And that is what gets you to, as I said, here.
Okay, so the local shows in United States are the equivalent of a regional, and the NPC Worldwide, which
yeah.
is everything internationally.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then
Yes.
the local shows in United States, usually top 2 in an open class. This year, as an exception, top 5 qualifies for a national show, which is a pro
Correct.
qualifier.
Correct.
Right? Now, the regional in internationally? How does that work with the regionals? Because some countries have requirements and others
Some countries you have requirements, some countries you don't. That is all on both the NBC News Online website under the NBC Worldwide section and on ifbbpro.com where it gives you the breakdown.
Yes, and I see,
So,
if you allow me, I'm just going to quickly mention those countries that need to compete in a regional show in their country, if
Right.
there is one in their country, before they are allowed to compete in a pro qualifier, like let's say Europe, the pro qualifier portion of Europa Pro, or the pro qualified
Right.
portion of Romania Muscle Fest. And these countries are Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Hungary, India, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, New Zealand, Portugal, South Africa, South Korea, Spain, and UK. And why do just these countries have those regional requirements, JM?
I think because there's a bigger population of competitors,
Okay.
that's why. Some of these other countries don't have as many competitors, and probably that the contest would be very, very small. You know, so there's a lot that went into it. It's, you know, looking at the economics, it's looking at how many competitors do they legitimately have or think they may have. When you look at some countries, they're only running men's divisions.
Yes, you're
Okay,
right.
they don't have women's divisions. So there's a lot. I mean, and it's different on the continents too. It's different countries that from Europe, Asia, you know, Africa, South America. It goes way different for everything. So there was a lot of planning that went into this to determine, and some of it has changed since we made the split at the 2017 Olympia.
So I do have a...
We're learning about the contest and the countries, you know.
I do have this question. Do the athletes, let's say Germany, they do have a regional requirement in their country, right?
Right.
Can they only compete in their own country in a regional before they do a pro qualifier, or can they go to Spain and UK and do a regional
They're supposed
there?
to compete in their country.
Just their country. Okay, they cannot
Yeah.
go in a different country.
Right.
And
yeah,
I
that's
know-
the whole idea.
Okay.
Because some of these countries this year are actually they've been around now for a couple of years. They've been doing more contests that they're actually having their own national championships finally, like we have here at the NPC in America.
Yes, and I know there is one exception from this regional requirement this year, right? If I'm not mistaken, if they do not have a regional before the pro qualifier, they are exempted from that rule, right?
Correct. That is correct. Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
It is.
Now, JM, you had hinted a second ago, and I want to circle back to that. So there's a lot of confusion. People think IFBB Pro League, IFBB Elite are the same. And clearly they're not, because there is only one way that gets you on that road to Olympia, and that's through the IFBB Professional League. Can you
Correct.
give us
And that,
some
again,
insight?
that's this logo right here.
Yes, and people have to pay attention to it, but I know there's still so much confusion.
Yeah, what I tell everybody is we have 3 logos, okay? But everybody knows in America it's the double bicep, the MPC logo. Like I said, the MPC Worldwide is the amateur international division. It's everything outside of the United States. Basically the same logo, but it says MPC Worldwide underneath of it. Then you qualify for the IFBB Professional League right here. So that is your only way to the Olympia stage. That's the only way that you win the Olympia. You get to compete in the Olympia. You get to hang out backstage at the Olympia with me.
Yeah.
And that's somewhere in the fine print in the Olympia contract. I'm sure you've got
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That is right.
That's like a bonus. You get that as a bonus.
You get those photos of you mid-bite of something that you're like, oh, you just got that? Amazing. I hope that's on the front
Or
page.
you're sleeping like you look like you're dead.
Yeah.
And you're like droll.
You captured the most epic photos of us backstage.
As I say, real backstage life.
Exactly.
It's funny how competitors who've known me for years, oh, please don't post that. That's the worst thing you could say to me.
100%.
It
It'll
might
be
end up on the homepage of NBC News Online.
always. Always.
Absolutely. Yep. You're right. So I know now internationally, every pro qualifier, like I'm just gonna, because I'm of course familiar with Romania Muscle Fest. that
You
first.
know, it's a really good contest. You should go there sometime.
I'll try. Maybe next year I'll make it. I'll see if they let me at the border.
Yeah, that would be
Probably
nice. Yeah.
So every overall winner, right, gets a pro card. Therefore, there are 9 divisions in my show because our stage is not appropriate for fitness right now. So we couldn't have that division. So 9 winners, right? At first place, the overall gets a pro card. Now, I know that there are more when it comes to Arnold and Olympia Amateur. There are more
Correct.
pro cards awarded, right?
Yeah, it's usually the top 3 in the overall.
Okay. For
Yeah. For the Olympia amateurs, it's the top 3, and for the Arnolds, it all depends on if it's the Arnold USA. There's different ones for the Arnold USA, Arnold Australia, and Arnold Brazil amateur. But I think some of those have been adjusted along the way. But yeah, usually for the Olympia amateur, it's the top 3, which is a very funny long story that I'll have to tell you. The first time I went to an Olympia amateur in South America, in Colombia, and they have the 4 class winners from bikini up there, and I see they bring the 3 of them out, and I'm looking at the girl in the back, and I'm like, oh, this girl's easily the overall winner, I'm thinking, right? That's why they haven't brought her out. So I'm thinking like United States, the class winners. And I see the expert come up, tap the girl on the elbow, and take her off stage.
Wow.
And I'm like, what just happened here? Okay. The irony is the girl that they ushered off stage was Etela Santiago.
Wow, no way.
And I'm like, this girl's the clear winner. So I'm tapping Tamer, I'll get these the head judge. And I'm like, Tamer, what happened to that curly haired girl? Right. And he's like, it's only top 3. And I'm like, so I was a little confused, but I just thought, so that's how I actually learned that it was only the top 3.
Oh, wow.
If you understand the irony, if you don't, I'm not going any further.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We actually.
Alina, you get it.
I got it. Oh, I love Attila.
That's mine and Alina's little secret.
Yes.
I know you're not allowed to know.
That's okay. I kind of think I figured it out, but that's all right. Secret safe.
Yeah, and okay, so we are at the top of the chain in the amateur portions, both internationally and United
Right.
States, right? So it's a pro qualifier internationally, or any of the, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 national shows that are pro qualifier in United States. So you
Yeah.
get your pro card there, and then
Yes.
you are going to be a pro, right? You compete. What are the Olympia qualification rules in United States and outside of United States at a pro show?
What do you mean? I mean, normally it's the overall winner.
The winner of each division, correct? But I know that this year, for example, Europa Pro, which is in Spain, right, is going to have top 2, and so they did last year as well.
Yeah, last year we did top 3 because
Top
there
3.
was, as you know, before your
Yeah.
contest, there was no other contest in Europe. I think Two Bros Pros might have had one contest before they got shut down, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't, because that was in the beginning of March also. So that was the way to, which is kind of, it was interesting and kind of sad in a way because you saw competitors that were 4th and 5th in pretty much every division, even like in bikini. The top 7 in the IFBB Europa Pro Bikini, top 7 had all been on the Olympia stage before, but only 3 of them were going to get to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's rough.
And you saw that in a lot of the divisions. I mean, but there was not much that you could really do because of the way the world was and everything was shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally it's the top 2. If there are exemptions, like I said, we're doing the top 2 for wellness this year because once we looked at the schedule, we had your contest, the Romania, and they had the Brazil. They were the only 2 that qualified for this year's Wellness Olympia. And once we saw the schedule, there was only 10 other contests. So that's 12 total. But the problem is, as you know, you could get a competitor that comes in, maybe wins 1, 2, 3 contests. Well, now you're limiting yourself to the amount of people getting on that stage. Yeah, you can pull from the point system. So we decided to go with the top 2 for those 10 contests because I think there's only 7 of them in the United States and the other 3 are international. So when we retroactive it to your contest and to the Brazil contest, so that we would have potentially, over 20 competitors to qualify for the Wellness Olympia.
Okay, that would be a
Wow.
great number.
Yeah, not
Right.
bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as people probably don't know, just the amount that qualify are pretty much never the amount that walk across the stage.
Yeah.
To give you an example, last year there was 39 men's physique that qualified, 35 went on stage. There was 44 pro bikini that qualified, only 38 went on stage. Life happens, injuries, travel restrictions. I mean, look what happened to Rolly trying to get here for the
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. And we
So
want to
you just
hear.
never know.
We want to hear a little bit more about those restrictions and what happened last year at the Olympia. I love that point, but only after this quick commercial intermission.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
And we're back. And JM, you were saying that not all the competitors that qualify, you think they're going to walk on stage at the Olympia day, right? So you were
Correct.
talking about last year.
Yeah, I mean, you have injuries, you have things that happen in life, different things. Like we talked about, Rolly Winkler got stopped at the border. He couldn't get here. You just never know. So I can't remember Mr. Olympia or Olympia contests in general where everybody that qualified actually walks across the stage because things happen.
We actually dealt with a lot of athletes that couldn't make it to the Olympia. And it's a very interesting point because I figured out that what happened is that the government literally stopped giving out visas.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a visa before going through this pandemic, it's impossible to get one. But if you had one and you could quarantine for 2 weeks somewhere like in Mexico or Turkey and then get your letter of invitation from the promoter, those athletes could make it because some athletes were mad. They were
Yeah,
like,
and I know they also had to get that letter from the IFBB Pro League office.
absolutely, yes, the FBB
Right.
Pro League office, the Olympia office, but some athletes were
Right.
upset. They're like, you guys can do anything. We did everything we can. It's
Yeah.
not about us. It's about the government. They do not issue any visa, not even a tourist visa.
Right.
They didn't issue anything, but we hope that this year is going to be better.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we hope. I mean, if you saw the amount of international athletes in last year's Olympia, like you said, Alina, a lot of them were already here in America.
Yeah.
They'd already come in. They'd come in during the summer, first anticipating the contest being in September.
Yep.
And then those that qualified as the contest got pushed back. But I'd say the majority of the international competitors were already here by November. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. They
Yeah.
were here and they did all their prep here and that worked
Yeah.
fine for them. Let me ask
So you have to factor that in now. I mean, there's no way not to until things go back to whatever we consider normal, which was 2019. So, but I know that a lot of people are like, well, you guys put out the information, international athletes contact the Olympia. Can't you just put that online? No,
Right.
you can't. Yeah, we could. But why would we give away the information for free?
Right.
Yeah.
Also, we wanted to make sure that they were qualified for the Olympia.
Yep. That's true.
So that was kind of the thing too, to make sure that they were really qualified for the Olympia. They were going to have their contracts in, different things like that. So,
Now, Jam, I have a question regarding the qualifications, like trying to get that pro card. We've kind of addressed getting into a national qualifying show and then qualifying for your pro card. Give us an idea in the grand scheme in a year time frame, how many pro cards are given out in the United States compared to how many are given out internationally?
well, geez, I think that the universe alone gives out 100 pro cards.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because they have divisions. They also give out in the Masters division. Okay. North Americans is around the same as well. Like junior USA, junior nationals, you get like top 2 or top 3 in certain overalls or just the overall winner. There's no bodybuilding pro cards for those two contests, but it's not a bad contest to use as pre-contest prep.
Sure.
I go back to 2018 when Ana Labrada entered the Junior USA, won it, and he used that as his kind of prep to go to the NPC Nationals later that year, and he won that also, and then turned pro.
Yeah.
But like you have the Teen Collegiate Masters Nationals in the Masters division, there are so many pro card availabilities, and the fact that that usually comes right before, or after, that's after the Universe. So the Universe, the Masters actually have quite a few options. They can go to the Universe, which this year is in Charleston again. If they're closer to whatever, then they can hop on up to Pittsburgh for the Masters Nationals, and then they'll have the USA Masters also. But I have seen plenty of quote unquote Masters competitors enter the open divisions and win and get their pro card.
And North Americans has Masters as well that you can get your pro cards. So there are a lot of options. Does not matter the age. And I think that's great, but I think it's also important to note that pro shows that have Masters division, doesn't matter if you win, those do not count at all towards Olympia. It's just for the open.
Right. Yeah, and I see competitors doing, if they're doing the Masters, they also do the open. I remember one year, there was a I'm not going to mention names, but pro bikini competitor got her qualification at the previous year's Masters Nationals. So she did a couple of contests after that. Now comes the following year. She decides to do open contests. Well, she placed top 10 in the Arnold. Then she ripped across 4 open division pro contests and won them all.
Wow.
In the one contest, she was like, well, they have a Masters division, but, I think if I do it, it might affect my placing. And I'm like, what? That one has nothing to do with your placing in the open. You've already won 2 open contests. You're already qualified for the Olympia. I'm like, why would you not do it? I mean, get the prize money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so she did it. So she won that. And then she gets into the Olympia and places a top 10 there also. So she was a lot older. I mean, she was mid-30s, let's just say, mid to late 30s. She was beating women that were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Age is just irrelevant. Nobody says, hey, show us your birth certificate so we can see you're Masters. You go over to the side. We need these young competitors.
And I know we've been talking about qualification for Olympia, but I'm going to move right back because I have a very technical but small question. For example, for an NPC local show, if an athlete is international, not a national, let's say this athlete I know, it's from India. He wants to compete in the Chicago NPC portion, Chicago Pro Day NPC portion. Does he need an NPC card or an NPC worldwide card?
My understanding is with that, they need an NPC card because of insurance.
It's in the United States. Okay, that's exactly what I thought too.
So he would need technically both.
He would need
if he
both,
was competing,
right?
Yeah, what people don't understand is that every NPC contest here in the United States has an insurance rider. Both of you as promoters, you know that.
Yes.
But people don't understand that that NPC, the USA American card, also covers the fees given to BMI and ASCAP, which everyone's going, what is BMI and ASCAP? Those are the music publishing companies that allow you to pose to the popular music that you do, and for the DJs to play that during the contest and everything else. It's royalties that have to be paid back. So your NPC card is not just for you to walk on stage. There's other things for it. So for insurance purposes, they would need that.
That's great. That's exactly what I was looking for, that confirmation. So thank you for that.
Alina, you knew that already. Come on.
Well, there's some rules
Whitney,
changing.
you see what a good host she is? How she leads into this? I mean, take some notes.
Dang it. All right. I'll try to level up as best I can. This is great, though, because I know with the rule changes, some people are just confused in general. And honestly, we always say it's cut and dry. Go to NBC News Online. You're going to find all the rules. You're going to find
Right.
details per your division so that you're stepping on stage prepared. And
Right.
obviously, as of last year, as you commented, there were a lot of changes, and you guys jumped through hoops to try to make it as fair as possible for
Yeah, on the
everybody.
rules, like on the NBC News Online, when you click the rules and there's a little drop-down menu, there's like you can hit it, and it's like the updated for 2021 what the rules are, like the different variations we've made.
Now, do you see for 2022, just kind of forecasting?
Too early to make any. Too early to make any.
When do you think you guys will put out some of that information? Is it usually after nationals?
It's probably going to be around then.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think that actually for this year that actually wasn't decided until almost I think like mid-January, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we got to kind of
Everyone
roll
was still
with it.
gauging how the world was going to go.
Right.
So, hey, can I throw out something here since we're talking about
please.
international competitors? And I get this question a lot. They're like, why don't you have international websites with different languages? Well, guess what?
That's a good question.
Because if you go to NBC News Online, whether it's on your mobile or on your laptop or your desktop, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little Google piece. It says Google. You click it, the drop-down menu for every language in the world.
Oh, okay.
All you have to do is find yours, click on it, and it translates the entire website to your language.
Amazing.
I
Yeah.
see.
It's a Google translator that's built in. Listen, it may take a little bit of time because you're talking about millions of pictures, how many millions of words and everything else. But it will translate everything on that website to your language.
And talking about internationally, how does it look? How does this season look? Because I know, for example, Europe is still a little bit affected right now.
I think again, it's every country is different. I know Tony Doherty got to put on their what they call their Australia A season earlier this year, which they had not had a contest since the 2020 Arnold Amateur Australia. Which remember he had to cancel the pro portion because nobody could get over there, or you were Sergio Oliva Jr. and you were stuck there.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, he got to actually put on his A season, have a couple of regionals into pro qualifiers finally. So they'll do their B season later on in the year. That's how their country works.
Yeah, I have to say that NPC Worldwide and IFBB Pro League ever since 2018, it has a huge progress internationally. But I want to talk about this and about the split from the previous federation and structure after this commercial break.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And we're back with Jay Manion talking about the split between IFBB and IFBB Professional League, NPC Worldwide. JM, it did happen in 2017, right?
Yes.
So how was the structure before? Because I know that IFBB was pretty much the amateur component everywhere outside the United States, the equivalent of our NPC in the United States, right?
Correct. Well, one thing I don't think that people realize is that back in 2004, IFBB President Ben Weider himself created IFBB Professional League, okay, to kind of separate the amateur from the pro. Now, Ben was the president of IFBB Professional League, and he became basically president emeritus. But the person that Ben Weider put in charge of the IFBB Professional League back then was my father, Jim Manion. So there was no real the change. I mean, he has been basically running the IFBB Professional League since 2004. Now, while Ben was still alive, of course, everything was, they worked together, they talked about everything. And after his untimely passing, he's just continued on with the position that Ben Weider put my father in that position. End of story. There's no other way to say it. Don't listen to the rumors.
So when the federation was all one, we had the NPC, the amateur component in the United States, and the IFBB Professional League, the professional component in the United States. Whereas everywhere else, there was only IFBB, that was amateur.
Yeah.
Now, the NPC was back in the day, it was the amateur component to the IFBB.
Yes.
Okay, because back then everything was IFBB, including the pro and the amateur.
Yep.
But that's why Ben Weider, as time was progressing, decided to make a distinct IFBB professional league.
Yeah.
So then when the split happened, then the other IFBB, they created their own professional league, right? Which is IFBB Elite Pro.
Right.
Not to be confused with the IFBB Professional League.
But let's
Correct.
be honest, it was created that way to create market confusion and try to ride the coattails of your brand.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, I did.
Oh, you actually disappeared.
And he's out. And he's out.
I can't even nod. I mean, come on.
You didn't do or say a thing, but I'm just making that clarification.
I just tried to turn my screen off. What didn't work? What the heck?
You didn't hear a thing, did you?
What? It's noisy here in the back cave. What's Alfred doing?
Always a good time.
That is right, yes, but definitely our federation has had tremendous success. And being with Wings of Strength, one of the direct promoters in Eastern Europe, I can testify to that, how many athletes actually want to be on our wagon that takes them to the Olympia.
Yeah, I mean, that first year that we went over for that Romania Muscle Fest was a big eye-opener for the amount of athletes that showed up. Was it not?
Oh.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
a lot of them, yes.
So where do you see, which countries are you seeing that are growing internationally more than ever? Like which ones are the, like if it's Brazil, Romania, which ones
You
have
just said it.
interest? Just
You
those
just
two?
said it.
Those are the
Brazil.
two? Yeah, Brazil?
Brazil, yes.
Is that because of wellness?
No, had nothing to do with wellness.
It's just
there was actually the first Brazilian champion to win the Olympia was Natalia Mello, who ironically was the very first Pittsburgh pro bikini champion.
Was she really? Oh.
Yes, she was.
Natalia is awesome.
She is. We had her on the show.
We had her on
a few
the
weeks
show,
ago.
yeah.
I know that. That's why I brought it up.
Yes, yes. So Brazil's still the hot country that's growing the fastest amongst everyone else.
Yes, and the rest of South America is coming along really, really well with with what people are doing. As we've seen overseas, Italy, Spain, Portugal, UK. I mean, they're doing really well with the promoters over there. The other promoters doing things. South Africa is doing really well. Korea is
I
doing
see a
really
lot of
well.
Asia, yes, like the shows are
Right.
just more and more in that area. And I have to say that I'm actually pretty impressed with these Asian athletes.
Yeah.
Like their
Yeah.
muscles and their development starts to be remarkable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on. Of course, I mean, we always tend to forget about Canada because it's right up there.
Yeah.
But they have grown exponentially.
Yes, they have to.
Now I know that they're kind of still in lockdown, but there's a lot of really good Canadian competitors.
Yeah.
You know.
What countries do you feel that we do not have any representatives in? Or we're not so strong in there? If we were to pinpoint parts of the world or countries.
Oh wait a minute. I'm remiss by not mentioning India.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, India has exploded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's thanks to Sharu and
Yeah,
his
we have
brother.
Sharu there,
everybody over
yes.
there. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a huge one. I mean, it's like Brazil. What's going on in India? I mean,
So they're in
You know.
competition.
yes, a lot
can
of good
grow the
competition, a lot of good athletes. We have a lot of great athletes all over. I mean, I think that the country, like you're asking what countries, it's countries that kind of probably weren't doing much to begin with anyways. You only
Yeah.
have a few select athletes. But they're all seeming to find their way to NPC Worldwide contests no matter what.
Yeah. So if
No.
let's say if they can travel to a country next to them just to compete because their country doesn't have the right number of athletes to worth it.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at Africa and you look at all the countries on the top there, and then you go, I don't know, you really don't hear much about the rest of the continent, but South Africa is doing a really, really good job down there with what they're doing. Champagne Productions is, they're popping a bubbly down there for sure.
I love the name.
I like that.
So fitting.
Yep, I do.
Yeah.
JM, what other questions are you seeing that have come out more prominently this year? Anything that you could, clear up, or any confusion, whether it's within the United States, athletes are needing some reassurance, or internationally?
I think the biggest question right now is wellness.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know what it is. Well, we saw it a couple of days ago, and I'm not sure when it's sold, but at Pittsburgh Pro, and I've been saying this since the Olympia. I said Pittsburgh and New York Pro are going to set the tone. Now, I've always heard this, that there's an NPC wellness look, there's a South America wellness look, but that South American wellness look isn't the Brazilian wellness look, and there's a different wellness look in Europe for Italy and Spain, but there's a different one in England. No. Wellness is wellness across the board. Wellness here is the same as wellness here. There's no division of, okay, so I'm American, so I look like an American wellness competitor. No, you are just either an NPC Worldwide, or IFBB Professional League wellness competitor, because the judging is the same across the board. I think that wellness, from what I saw last year, everybody that qualified to turn pro here and abroad was pretty much the same. They're pretty similar. I mean, I think the judging was really good across the board. And I keep saying that I think wellness is now balanced out figure and bikini.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I know, Whitney, you and I have had this discussion that you had these competitors that they weren't bikini, they're not figure, they're not even women's physique, even at women's fit. Now I think everybody is clearly defined.
Yes.
And so what you're seeing happen, what you saw in Pittsburgh, what you're going to see in New York, and you're probably going to see it. I mean, I know Milwaukee's 2 weeks after, but Pittsburgh and New York being, arguably one of the top 5 contests in the IFBB Professional League, really is going to set that tone. So, as my son Tyler said last year after Janet won the Olympia, don't try to look like Janet. Don't try to model yourself after Janet, but bring your best version of yourself to stage, which is what Janet did.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Don't try to mimic what she looks like. So don't try to mimic what, say, Francielle Matos looks like, the one in Brazil, and she won the ornament. Don't try to mimic Angela Borges, who won the European in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Don't try to mimic Yarishna, who won the Clash and then the Universe to turn pro. We could go all the way down, the line there. Don't try to look like them. Bring your best version according to the rules. Because when you look at especially, like I said, the top 10 in the Pittsburgh Pro, every body was different, but it fit the criteria.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was impressive. That was the first time I've actually seen a Wellness Pro show, because obviously last year there was so many changes. But I was telling Alina when I came back, when they hit the stage, I was just in awe with their physiques and their routines and their confidence. And I want to see more. And I know this is a huge testament to you, because you have been working for years to make this an actual division from everything that you were seeing. And this was a big push. You were really excited.
That wasn't just me. That was a bit of everybody.
Sure.
So that was Tamer and Tarek, obviously, from Brazil. It was Sandy. It was Steve Weinberger. It was Tyler. We had people like Joe Piscola, had Tim Gardner, had competitors, different people. Everybody had their opinion on it. And I've said this a million times, that when I first heard about it, I was like everybody else. Oh, yeah, they're just not as in shape bikini or figure competitor. And when I first saw my first wellness contest at that, ironically, again, that Olympia Amateur in Colombia, and I was like, oh, this is not what I thought. Then when I went to Brazil, it was like, that was eye-opening. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, everybody has to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Bring your best self to the stage and be judged. Now, listen, I don't think that the New York Pro is going to have the same. I might not have the same results because you're going to have some competitors that weren't in Pittsburgh doing New York.
Yeah.
So people are going to go, well, wait a minute. Well, maybe this person ends up winning New York, but they weren't in Pittsburgh. That's okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and that's across every division. I mean, you look at. I mean, it's funny. For years, there's been bikini we've had. But you didn't hear everybody saying, oh, well, that's European bikini. Oh, that's South American bikini. That's Canadian bikini. So what's the difference with wellness? There isn't. Wellness is wellness.
That is true.
Well
I do
said.
believe there was maybe for a small difference in the way they were posing with their hand in Europe.
Yeah, well, we
And
got
then
rid of
changed,
that
yes.
quote-unquote teacup pose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, back to the promotions. Yes, I promoted, am I allowed to say promoted the hell out of the Pittsburgh Pro Wellness?
Of
Not
course.
deeply on ego. Yeah, I was talking about that from the Olympia. It was to have 20 athletes, wellness athletes on stage. And the fact that we had 25 was just, it was fantastic. I couldn't have been happier about it.
It was
You know,
amazing.
I mean,
But
so many people were
blew that out.
tuning in.
What did I end up with? I think I topped out doing, what did I say, 14 roads to the Pittsburgh with just
Yeah.
wellness competitors.
Yes, you did a
Yeah.
lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been watching them on Instagram.
It's
That was
incredible.
fantastic.
Yeah, so I literally had over half the competitors that came to Pittsburgh to film.
Yeah, it was nice to see glimpses of their training and their tips and their journeys, and of course, getting a kind of sneak peek at their physique as they were in prep, all of them. So
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, Whitney. Let's talk about Renee Harshey. So she wins the Tampa Pro, the very first IFBB Pro Wellness, and everybody goes, "Oh, well, yeah, it's because nobody was in there. There was no Brazilians in there. There was no one from South America." Okay, and Casey DeLong was third, and these women had this thing in their head because, and you know it, and I know it, that they're like, well, we're not as good as these international competitors. Well,
Sure.
I think Renee and Casey pretty much proved themselves in Pittsburgh, placing 6th and 7th, that they belong
Yeah.
with all these other international competitors, right?
they put
Absolutely.
in the work, they made massive improvements, and they stepped on stage, held their own, and placing top 10 at the Pittsburgh Pro, let's be honest,
Right.
that's a huge accolade that you can kind
And I
of...
literally walked up to Renee backstage afterwards, and I said, congratulations, you should feel vindicated.
Yes.
I said, so for all the haters online that said
Yeah.
that you wouldn't do any good in this contest,
Yep.
you were in the first call out.
Yes. And she owned it. I mean, her confidence on that stage, I've seen her pose multiple times, but even then I was blown away. And it
Right.
was a nice kind of, I'm sure, for her, refreshing feeling to say, yeah, this is my division, I'm part of it.
Right. I mean, she was right in there. And I mean, and Casey, I mean, a 40 or 41-year-old mom with 5 children.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean,
I know.
she crushed it, you know? So Casey would be, I guess, the American wellness look. Well, no, she hung with the Brazilians and everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There is definitely a lot of hype coming right now for the wellness. Not only that, but we are extremely excited to see how the whole season will develop nationally, internationally, what we're going to have on stage. And if you guys have any questions, just head over to NPC News Online, ivbpro.com, wingsofstrengths.net. We all have answers for you there. Go check your facts. Don't listen to anything. Go and check
Yes.
the rules. And then you're going to
Yes.
know how you can turn pro, how you can qualify for your pro qualifier, and how you can make it to Olympia only through IFBB
Right.
Pro League.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Jem, for being here with us today. It was a pleasure
problem.
Yes.
and an honor to have all these questions clarified for all the athletes out there. And we're looking forward to seeing you very soon and doing the jumping contest with you.
Oh, yeah. Better be practicing, JM. You better be
I don't
practicing.
practice, Whitney. You know that. I just broke.
You
That
just
is
do
true.
it.
That is true.
And we'll see you guys on our next episode of FemFlex Friday.